Coach Kevin has been with us for a while. Warrior Week 22 is a transition Warrior Week for us. There's a reason why most of the men from that group are still part of what we do here. They bonded with each other as a group that we had never seen before. They ultimately ended up at each other's weddings and ended up at each other's bachelor parties, and they considered some of them to be some of the worst bachelor parties because they're now all living the Warriors way, and so they're cheersing green smoothies and doing things that are abnormal for normal bachelor parties. But along that, there was a man who came to us honestly in shambles. A man who was large in stature, but a man who inside had quit on himself a long time before. He'd gone through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And so when Big Kev came to be part of Warrior and Warrior Week 22, we had no idea what the journey would take, because the truth was Kevin had every reason to say no across the board, plus 10 more for each one that had a no. There was 10 more backups to say no, and yet he stepped through. He ended up into 9 different challenges with us. Came at Empire in 2015. From that, also continued into 2016, joined Founders, launched the Founders Forge, which was a self-created process to guide men on the backside to help our guys who are in our Founders group. Attended Warrior Week 38, attended Warrior Week 39, Trainer Edition, and currently is running as the coach for the men of Warrior Week 41 and Warrior Week 42. So Coach Kevin came from a place of nothing, and in that place in the last 2 years has built something. And the one thing he had from the beginning that many men were searching for, it might not have been the business success. He was still hunting down that door. But what he had figured out how to do a long time before he got here was how to listen to the voice. Your third trainer on the topic of being, Mr. Kevin Voisain, but we're not going to applaud him. We're going to give him the same statement, I see you. Move.
I see you.
Move.
I see you.
Move.
I see you.
Kevin, time is yours.
Thanks. While I get set up here, I want to tell you a little story. All night, I am no stranger to the voice. The voice is why I signed up. But all night, I have this voice in my head. You're gonna take off your clothes on stage tomorrow, and you're gonna give your talk butt-ass naked. And I never even laughed, because I've learned to understand and listen to the voice. And I'm fucking scared. I mean, all night, it just kept coming over and over and over and over. You know, what the fuck? This is fucking crazy. Like, this is not gonna be the same experience you had earlier this morning. This makes no fucking sense. This makes no fucking sense. It's over, and it's over, and it's over, and it's over. And we get in here, and I'm sitting down in the back, and I'm like, fuck. Okay. All right, fuck it. And then Garrett starts taking off his fucking clothes. Your presentation started, and I'm like, what the fuck? Now everyone's going to think I'm just trying to be like Garrett. And I have the thought, am I really supposed to do this? And I just needed you to be willing. Thank God. So instead we're going to talk about a gorilla. And thank you, whoever the asshole who threw his banana under the stage was, for giving me this prop. And thank you for everyone else who walked by and didn't think to pick it up. You were listening to the voice, you just didn't know it. When I was 12 years old, a lot of great shit happened to me. A lot of great shit happened to me. This is when I looked exactly like the man who raped my mother when she was 6 years old. Defining moment in my life. She abused me for the next 20-something years with really good reason. I get it. I looked exactly like him. I can see a picture of that dude, and he's me. Then, not today. Also, I met my wife, 12 years old. Church trip. They said, you want to go on the church trip? Who's going? They listed off 8 girls. 1 spot left. Yes, I want to go on the church trip. Met my wife. I also went to the zoo. Went to the zoo and we went to watch the gorillas eat. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's pretty fucking cool. I'm kind of like a gorilla. I can demonstrate. But there's this 350-pound, powerful fucking gorilla, and he just kind of sits up on a log. And like they're throwing shit to him, bananas, cucumbers. They don't give him bananas anymore. They used to though when I was 12. And he's like not even fucking paying attention. You know, he's like looking over here and like. I mean, it was just crazy. Like I was a catcher, I played soccer, and I'm watching this powerful thing, not even fucking paying attention, picking these little tiny things, like half of a cucumber out of the air and eating it. And I'm just fascinated. Fascinated. He's just eating, and eating. And at a point, he drops his food. And at a point, there's this weird scream in the pen. And there's one alpha male, and there were some females, and there were some little kids, I guess. I don't know what you call a baby gorilla. I probably should have looked that up. But these females are screaming, and they're running around, and they're getting all of the kids together. And the male kind of looks up, and then he springs into action, and he runs, and he gets the females, and he gets the babies, and he runs them back, and there's this enclosure where they can go be private. And he puts them in this enclosure, and then he turns around. And this, as from the audience side, the energy in that area just went, whew. Something was fucking happening. But we couldn't see anything. But about this time, he's got his family behind him, and we see a snake. It's South Louisiana, nothing had escaped in the zoo. We see a snake. There's a fucking water moccasin about 6 foot long in the gorilla enclosure. He shits himself. He pisses himself. And then he pauses and he starts to move towards the snake. And at each step, it's and another step and another step until he gets right to the snake and he beats the fuck out of that snake. And then he looks up and he sees us. And he looks me in the eyes and he says, "Ah! You want to come in my family? I'll fucking run you over. I will fucking eat you." And he just stood there. And I'm fucking 12 years old. And something went through me like I'd never felt in my life. This power, this energy. And I had no fucking idea what it was. But I never forgot it. Fast forward 30 years, 20-something years. I'm 33 years old. I just fucked up my first marriage. I'm 13 different fucking people. I've cheated on my wife for years. We have a completely fucked up relationship. And I finally got tired of lying and got real honest about it. We're getting a divorce. And I'm so fucking cocky, I don't even have a lawyer. We go to the final settlement shit. I got the fastest divorce in history because I just admitted to adultery. So in Louisiana, you can get a divorce in 3 days if you do that. Nobody's fucking stupid enough to do that. I was. Just tired of fucking lying. I was such a fucking loser. In our papers, she's like, "I want the right to be able to move back with my parents." Guilty, overconfident. My parents live in Austin. I live in South Louisiana. Okay, sure. Never thinking she'd really do it, never thinking it would really happen. 2 days later, I come home from work, and there's moving vans and people everywhere at my house. What the fuck? I go in, I'm angry. My dad grabs me, pulls me outside and says, "There's no good thing that's gonna happen with you here. Leave." So I do. I don't even remember what I fucking did, but I left. And I came back a couple hours later. And the house was empty. She took all the food out of the freezer, all the food out of the fridge, and gave it away. She took all the stuff that I got to keep and moved it to a storage. The house was fucking empty. I remember opening the door and seeing empty. I had an ink pen in my hand. And I dropped it. And I heard it echo in 2 different parts of the house. It was an ink pen, but let me let you know what it sounded like. because I realized I just fucking sent my kids 9 hours away. And in that moment, something woke up inside of me. It's that same fucking feeling as that gorilla. I realized what I had seen is a father who said, I have no idea what to do, but I will protect my family. And I just sent them fucking away. And something had to wake up inside of me. Something had to wake up inside of me. How in the fuck am I going to do this? So for the next 5 years, I drove 18 hours round trip every other weekend. Why didn't I fly? Because there was no direct flights. I'm so fucking cocky, I didn't even look it up. It took as long to fly as it did to drive. But I did it. I found a way. I asked my dad what he was most proud of me in my life at one point right before he died. He said, I can't believe you've kept in touch with your kids. I didn't think you would do it. Why? Because the man that sent his kids away couldn't have done it. I had to gain capacity. And thank God this trauma woke up that capacity. Because my threshold was little. My threshold for doing this work, my threshold for 18-hour drives was nothing. Here's the thing about threshold. Threshold is where you stop and where the divine begins. Threshold is where you stop and where the divine begins, because all of my life I searched for God. I searched for him in the lights. I thought maybe he lived out in outer space. I searched for him in my prayers. I searched for him all over the fucking place. And I always thought he was outside. I always thought he was over there. One day at Warrior Week, I'm looking at bunnies running on the hill. We've just gotten the fuck beat out of us. We have just got the fuck beat out of us. And I'm looking at these little rabbits, and I'm looking at the scenery, and I'm thinking, God, God's creation is fucking amazing. And the thought comes again, I created you too. Isn't it amazing how we can see God in our children? We can see God in bunny rabbits. We can see God in a fucking blade of grass, but we can't see God in ourselves. He created you too. What if the power you need is not out here? What if no one needs to give it to you? What if you just need to fucking unlock it inside of you? I don't do core 4 because some magic fairy gives me power. Every fucking night I go to sleep and these steel doors shut over the power that's inside of me. Steel doors shut over the divinity of me. And every morning I open 8 little fucking doors. And then I do a fucking stack. And the stack allows me to see, to hear the voice inside of me talk to me directly. Core 4 opens my power. It's not my power, it's fucking God. It's the divinity of me. It's the divinity of me. He is in here. And that's why I am unstoppable. Many of you guys, you go right to body. It's good. Why? You're touching the divine. You know, some of you guys, you lift. Those last three, you know, that you're not really able to lift it, but you do it. You're touching the divine. You're crossing that threshold. It's not you anymore. It's you and the divine. It's the divine of you. Some of you guys do this Kokoro shit. You're touching the divine. Me, I do it emotionally. I do it with my kids. I do it on a fucking 18-hour round trip. They moved to Houston. Now it's only 12 hours every other week. Still do it. 9 years and counting. Once, there was an ice storm. I leave at 3 in the morning. The news isn't really out yet, the weather. I drive over, there's an ice storm. I literally got frozen in my car. I had to have a truck driver at the gas station come and get me out. That's how much ice. I passed over 1,000 wrecks. A 9-hour drive turned into a 19-hour ordeal. And when I showed up at the door, after their mother saying I can't have them, after my ex-father-in-law calling, there's no point, it's too dangerous to be on the roads, I passed thousands of wrecks. That day on the road I traveled were over 2,000 wrecks. I saw probably about 1,000. And when I showed up at the door and I knocked, and it was the next morning because it was so fucking long, my 9-year-old at the time ran outside and said, I told them you would come. I told them you would come. You know how many times I drove that drive to knock on the door and be told you can't have her? Our agreement was so fucking stupid. It said we agreed to agree. That doesn't happen in divorce. I told them you would come. Now, I want to give you a direct experience with this. Everybody stand up and get with a partner, put your hand on each other's hearts, quickly. Quickly, quickly. Look directly into you with the beard over here. Okay, you got it, never mind. Look, shh, hey, look directly into this man's eyes. Directly into this man's eyes. And I want you to see the divinity in that man. I want you to see, come up here. I want you to see the divine. The eyes are the window to the soul. I want you to see it. I want you to feel it. And now, I want you to know that he is seeing that same power in you. Close your eyes. I want you to accept your own divinity. I want you to understand that you are driven way past threshold over and over and over again to touch the divine inside of you. Sit down. God is not out there. He's right here and right there 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 and in every one of you and in every one of your children and in every one of their children to come. It's up to us to let him out. I do that with Core 4. It's up to us to listen. I do that with the stack. It's up to us to touch the divine. We cross threshold. Thank you.
2 clap, boom, 2 clap, boom, 2 clap, boom.